But 15 minutes is really, you try it. And the most elite athlete I've ever trained can't go much more than that. And it's not necessary for that requirement that the physiology of our bodies is looking for. Think about the developing primitive man. He had to move around. Remember I said 3.2 to 3.7 miles an hour. We did that for hours every day we were tribes, we were nomads, we were looking for places to stay. Okay. But every once in a while, we had to bust our asses hunting, fishing, dragging, butchering. Okay. But we didn't do that every day, because if we had to do that every day, we would have ceased to be a species. We would have been exhausted and we would have been prey. So a couple times a week, more than likely, we had to go out and hunt and bust our chops really hard to exhaustion, and then to find our food. And then we ate, we took it easy, we walked around a little bit. When it's time to get more food, we had to go out and do it again. But we can't do that on a daily basis, because we can't recover optimally. It's just not necessary. More is not better. Harder is better. Harder, less frequently, for shorter durations.
Yeah, I love that. The way I'll kind of explain it to people is, imagine like a teeter-totter, and on one side you have intensity, and on the other side you have frequency or volume, and you just can't have both. And most people think, oh, I'm going to get into this plan. I'm going to start with 2 days a week, and then I'm going to work up to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
Right.
And I'm only working out 30 minutes a day. I want to start working out 45 in an hour. I just need to build up to that. And it's actually like, no, over time you probably need to do less, because you want that intensity, and because you have the intensity, it's like you just said, then you cannot do it frequently. It's not possible. And most people kind of get that confused. And I also notice so many people push back against it. Like I'll ask somebody in the beginning of our conversation, like, would you like your plan to be very complicated and complex, or would you like your plan to be very simple and easy to do? And everybody throws up their hands and go, oh, I just need simple. Everything in my life is way too complex already. I need something simple. And in a few minutes, you can explain exactly what you've explained. Keep carbohydrates low, focus on fats and proteins. And with the exercise, you really want to challenge the muscles. Do a few of these different exercises, do them, what you recommend twice a week, 15 minutes. And people like hear that and they stop, and then they start like inventing ways to make it more complicated. Like, well, what about my cardio? It's like, well, I guess you can. That's activity. You can add that in if you want. Well, what about these supplements and this meal plan and all these other things? And like, you are making it complicated. You said you wanted it simple. We gave you the simple thing. I end up getting a lot of pushback that way, because I think people believe that it has to be complicated because of what you said, an overload of information out there.
Yeah, I mean, what happens as a result of these simple behaviors that we're suggesting is very complicated. The chemistry is very complicated, and the nuance. I mean, there are certain subtleties that we want to include, but in the beginning, we're all looking for the lowest hanging fruit. Let's just, the Pareto principle, which Ivor Cummins introduced me to, says 20% of what we do gets us 80% of the benefit. So let's go there, and you can become anal, you can become crazy, you can listen to 15 different podcasts and basically vendors selling their supplement or their plan. That's cool, but it's self-serving. This is not self-serving. I couldn't, this, I'm telling you, this is what I do. This is what my family does. This is what my friends do. This is what people who come to me personally and I've been training and consulting with for like 30, 40 years, do. It's not something I made up to sell. If you knew anything about book sales, that, my books, when I go to the conferences, I sell for $10. Those books cost me with shipping $9. The only reason I charge 10 is because I don't feel like making change. Okay. So I don't make anything on the books. And the ones on Amazon, you make a couple bucks, but it's not like, you're going to live off that. I wrote that book to be simple, to be suggestive of something that most people can handle in a palatable, behaviorally palatable manner. And that's fine. And there are other good books, absolutely. But when you, again, a very good point you made, Corey, when you start to say, well, I can do it better. Okay, remember this old saying, better is the enemy of good. All right. If you got a good plan, you're healthy, you feel good about it, it fits into your lifestyle, you're doing the things you're trying to do. It's not perfect, okay, but it's working. don't even try to change the goddamn. I mean, I'm telling people, they come to me and say, I like this. This is great. I love doing this. This is fine. I'm really happy with everything. I said, well, good. Good for you. God bless America. And let's talk about, football. I mean, I don't know. You got it covered, man. Don't get crazy. If you want to talk to me philosophically or academically about something, okay, we can go there. And that's kind of like, it's like, mental masturbation. We can try to prove who's smarter than the other guy or whatever. I don't care. But for most people, this is so valuable that it's, to me, almost, it's negligent, if not criminal, not to consider the basic tenets of what I'm proposing. Okay. And again, it's not self-serving. I mean, it may be that I think this is, and everybody has their own bias. Of course, I think this is a great way to do it in the best way that I can, or else I wouldn't promote it. And so I have that bias. There's no question about it. I think it's, but are there other ways to do it that seem a little bit different? Yeah, sure. But you still have to go through those signaling toll booths of metabolism. You still have to induce what it is that these type 2 high intensity exercises do to your body. You still have to go through the toll booths enzymatically of eating in a way that doesn't suggest that we have this overfeeding, too much energy, and we have a lifestyle that doesn't allow us to utilize that energy to get it back to what we call a healthy equilibrium, okay, which is homeostasis. Okay, those are the bottom lines. I don't care how you twist and turn this stuff and how authentic and incredible your research might be. You still have to go through. I think about going through New Jersey. You still have to go through these toll booths to get to Newark. Okay, if you don't, then you just you're flying a drone or something that's pretty much not feasible.
Yeah. Wow, very well explained. It's funny, I do get that from time to time where somebody would be like, oh, I've upped my protein and I started lifting weights. I'm losing 2 pounds a week. Like, I don't know what to do. What should I do? And I'm like, what do you mean? What should you do? Keep going. You're doing great. Let's talk about something else, like you said. Yeah, and I was reflecting after a consultation I did recently where like the complexity comes from the industries, right? Like if people approach their health and fitness in this way, like starting with the fitness industry, the fitness industry would lose tons of money. You don't need all these gimmicky things. Like you can if they're fun and you like them, but you don't need to spend a lot of money there. You think about the medical industry and the hundreds of billions of dollars spent on diabetes alone, or the billions of dollars on statins. That could all reduce. The food industry would go away. Pharma, all of that stuff. There wouldn't be industry unless there was complexity that helped keep people locked down in this idea that there has to be this really complicated thing and keep the simple information that really works for people out of their field of consciousness. You know what I mean? Like it could be so simple, but the simplicity doesn't make you a lot of money from selling books, and it doesn't make the industries very much money because people have it sorted out and won't need them.
Yeah, okay, but that's never going to happen because of one feature. It's called human nature, okay? So first of all, we're never satisfied. Second of all, we are inclined and driven through our brain function to do that which is the simplest, easiest, most pleasurable. Okay, so it does require a little bit of discipline. It does require a little bit of knowledge. Okay, there's no question. And again, if this was natural in this environment, at least, if it was natural and easy, you and I wouldn't have jobs. Okay, and it wouldn't be like you say these big industries. It wouldn't have to be a new gimmick, a new exercise plan, a new diet every 6 weeks. And that's one thing that I hold out kind of proudly, is that I've had this program going on for more than 50 years, and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are doing this or some offshoot of this, okay, successfully. And it hasn't changed in over 50 years. And if a program is good, if a plan is good and it works for most people most of the time, you don't need every 3 months to have the newest, latest, greatest, shortest, longest, highest, lowest, whatever the hell the variation might be. You don't need that. You need to do these basic activities, basic behaviors. And now I'm not going and saying that there are other things you can do. I mean, you look at Peter Attia's stuff. I mean, Peter's a little bit of a perfectionist, okay? And he's got, you've got certain stretching, certain muscle groups, and to promote mobility when you're 97. And I think that's all good. Don't get me wrong. But if you do this stuff that I'm saying that I recommend that you do, you're going to be in the top quartile, if not the top 10%. for your age and gender. Okay. And then you can get into, you know, as much as you want once you retire, or if you have time, or if you're just curious, you can do some other stuff. Don't get me wrong, that's great. Okay. But if, without this bottom line, simple diet and exercise theme, philosophy, behavioral pattern, you're going to be always come up short and be discontented.